Plans for a high-speed rail link between London and Birmingham have been switched to the slow track. The new Transport Secretary, Justine Greening, will now announce her verdict on the HS2 link in early January. The pause is partly to consider measures to mitigate the route's impact on the Chilterns, an area of outstanding natural beauty and home to the constituencies of several senior Conservative ministers. Our political correspondent Michael Crick has this report.
It would, if built, cut through the Chilterns, one of England's great areas of outstanding natural beauty and one of the country's strongest Tory heartlands. North of the M25 up to Old Amersham, HS2 trains will be kept beneath the fields in a long tunnel before erupting into open countryside. But now the Transport Secretary is thinking of extending that tunnel another mile and a half.
It's been reported that the cost of boring a new tunnel along this stretch of the line is in the region of £500 million. The Department of Transport says that figure is an exaggeration. What's more, they're confident of being able to meet much of the cost by extra savings further up the high-speed line.
Critics aren't convinced, among them the Tory who runs Bucks County Council.
Almost everybody is saying it's a mile and a half, it's not a big deal. What they really want to see is a fundamental change in terms of using other alternatives. And they're also worried about the rest of the area of outstanding natural beauty.
But isn't this a sign that the Transport Secretary, new Transport Secretary, that she's listening?
Well, we'd like to think so, but if she was really listening, what she'd be doing is looking at the fundamentals of the business case.
Across South Buckinghamshire, people seem united. Conservationists and Conservatives, presenting local MPs and ministers with a personal quandary.
The poster here rather illustrates the problem. It's in the window of the Beaconsfield Conservative Association. And who is the Conservative MP for Beaconsfield? None other than the Attorney General, Dominic Grieve. And as a member of the government, Mr. Grieve is, of course, expected to support HS2.
It's a problem for several other ministers too. On the edge of London, HS2 is planned through Ruislip, the seat of Nick Hurd, the big society minister. And then, after Dominic Grieve's Beaconsfield, it enters Chesham and Amersham, whose MP is the Welsh Secretary, Cheryl Gillen. Then Aylesbury, held by Europe Minister David Lidington. And the threat of new high-speed trains rushing through the Chilterns has caused turmoil in the wealthy local Conservative associations, some of which have withheld tens of thousands of pounds from central office and are losing members fast.
I know in my own constituency association of Beaconsfield, which is, as you say, one of the strongest constituencies in the country, it is losing a lot of members. You were talking about now into over 100 members or so. And I suspect that come January, if the go-ahead is given to HS2, we will see a big fall in membership.
A few days ago, I tried to catch the Beaconsfield MP Dominic Grieve as he arrived for his surgery.
Mr. Grieve has let it be known that he's not giving us an interview on the subject, which in the circumstances perhaps isn't surprising. It is an extremely difficult issue for him and indeed for all the other ministers with seats along the route of HS2.
When and if the HS2 bill goes through Parliament, Mr. Grieve will face a crunch career choice: his ministerial job or his constituents.
Are you willing to vote against HS2, Mr. Grieve?
But he knows he's got about 18 months to decide which way to go.
Do you think that they will be faced with the problem of whether to resign from the government over the issue?
Well, I think when the bill comes before Parliament, that's a very real problem for them. I can't speak for them, but it seems to me that they will face that choice. And I think that's a pity. I think Dominic Grieve's a great Attorney General. His constituency is only marginally affected. David Lidington, of course, Europe Minister, a great many things going on there, and Cheryl serving Wales. So really, I think politically it is a big problem for the government, but it's a matter for them. It's not a matter for me as a new backbencher.
Whatever their troubles in the Chilterns, the government's unlikely to lose on this in Parliament. HS2, after all, was originally Labour's plan, and most coalition MPs think it'll boost the economy, the north especially.
Well, the fact is I'm an MP for Yorkshire and I want my area to be able to benefit from the economic prosperity that a new line will bring, and also to help us deal with the massive overcrowding that we have on the existing railway lines. If we don't deal with this now, then a generation in the future won't forgive us.
There is a choice, and on the English hills runs a line that kills.
Today, the Stop HS2 campaign launched this protest song, hoping to reach #1 by Christmas. It may just about make Dominic Greaves' iPod, but not, I suspect, the minister faced with the big decision. Justine Greening.